Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a pretty interesting show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to our Dreamerspro Short Clips channel that we have linked in the comment section below. So anyway, let me get into this show here. This morning, I was doing some research and I came across an article, I believe it was from fadeawayworld.net, that was centered on some comments, or excuse me, a sit down that Kevin Garnett had with NBA commissioner, reigning commissioner, Adam Silver. And they were talking about various things, but in this particular soundbite that we want to play for you guys, they were basically, Kevin Garnett was basically asking Adam Silver about how he feels this current style of basketball is working, for the NBA. Is it working? This faster pace, higher scoring, no defense. Is this really working? So what we want to do is, before we really delve into this video, because I got a lot of points that I want to touch on, is we want to play this exchange between Kevin Garnett and Adam Silver, and then we're going to really come back and get into this thing here. So take a listen to this exchange quickly.
Is the high scoring working? Is speeding the game up? I asked this with a follow-up because I want to know, will there ever be a time in our lives where the hand check comes back? Is that going? Is this kind of the wave in which we're going now?
I'll answer it coming from the fan in me, which is, and maybe data comes into play here because I can look at television ratings and other measures of interest. There was a point, I believe, probably in around the late 90s when the game became too physical. And I think we lost some of
For our viewers, you mean?
Yeah, and I think for our fans, from the aesthetic enjoyment of the game, where it de-emphasized the particular skill a player had and maybe weighted too heavily physicality, where a big, strong player could come in and prevent a incredibly skilled player from doing those kinds of things. I think of, not that he's a small guy, but a smaller player like Steph Curry can do on the floor. I think that when you think of some of his ability to shoot, his ability to move through the paint, that if guys could just bang him and knock him to the ground, as that was once the case in the league, I don't think that would be a better brand of basketball. I also think we have to find the right balance, because I know when I sit in the stands or talk to friends sometime, they want to bring back, and we've tried to bring back a little bit more of the physicality. Like, I think people like to see hard defense. I mean, it goes a little bit before to what you and I are talking about, like touch and feel. Like, I don't think either people like that idea that guys can go through unscathed and you're protecting your star players. And in fact, we made some changes this season where sort of, I don't know, the unnatural basketball moves, you know what I'm referring to, and where those were being, players were gaming the system in a way. Brilliant players playing by the rules had found ways where those were becoming defensive fouls. So we reset this year, which is something you got to do in the offseason. You don't want to change mid-course, but we made it clear, those players, that that's no longer going to be a foul. And of course, because they're the greatest players, they adjust and they find other ways to score.
So you heard what they had to say. Now, I want to firstly say this, and I'm going to say it because I got to tell my audience, our audience what we think. It says a lot about how you treat yourself and how you treat others and the lack of self-respect some of us have for one another. Kevin Garnett, who was one of my favorite players growing up, loved this game. Whenever I see Kevin Garnett talking to Paul Pierce, talking to this person, talking to that person, on All the Smoke or wherever he was, KG's always cursing up a storm. Cursing up a good old storm. The minute you sitting down in front of Adam Silver, all of a sudden now you well-spoken, well-behaved. If we only gave ourselves the same self-respect that we gave others, maybe we'd be somewhere. It spoke volumes to me. I was listening. I'm like, is this the same KG? He was even smiling. I'm like, this is Kevin Garnett? The same KG that was cursing up and down, left and right cursing. So why all of a sudden you can speak proper English when you're speaking to Adam Silver, but when it comes to everybody else that look just like you, all of a sudden we cursing up a storm. One day, one good day, when you develop some self-respect, then people will start respecting you. I wanted to say that because it was something that really bothered me. the way you speak to each other versus how you speak to others, it spoke volumes. If that offends anyone, that's their damn business. I'm saying what I thought. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this particular show here. This is what I want to focus on. If you listen to what Adam Silver said, he spoke about how the physicality was basically robbing very skilled players of their ability to basically score. So they had to come up with a remedy for that. And then it made me begin to think of two of the greatest scorers of all time. And Michael Jordan, who is by far the greatest scorer of all time. Some people say it's Kareem, some people say it's LeBron. These people don't know what they're talking about. If Michael Jordan played for 20 years, how many points do you think he would have? No, let me ask you. If Michael Jordan played for 20 years, how many points do you think he would have? In my opinion, the greatest scorer, some people say is Wilt. I think is MJ. I think MJ is the best two-way player ever. I think MJ and Kobe are the two most skilled perimeter players in the history of basketball, bar none. I think it's those two guys, and then you have everybody else. You have Kevin Durant, you have Carmelo Anthony, you got LeBron, and all of these guys. These guys are after those guys. This is just my opinion. And if you watch basketball, you would know this. Basketball is not a stat sheet that you read. You got to watch ball to really understand it. I didn't learn about basketball by reading statistics. I watched it. I learned about it by watching it first, then reading the numbers. You can't just read numbers and not watch basketball. So let me get into the meat and potatoes of this thing here. I chose to focus on two of the greatest scorers of all time in NBA history, bar none. And Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, and Kobe Bryant, the third greatest player of all time. And I specifically focused on their highest scoring seasons. That was Jordan's 86-87 season, where he averaged 37 points per game, and Kobe's 05-06 season, where he averaged 35.4 points per game. So let's just get into it. It's been a very long time since we did one of these videos because it takes so long to research all of this data. So let's just get into it here. That season, that year, Jordan scored 37.1 points per game. He shot 48.2% from the field. I'm going to give you the most relevant stats here that I believe are relevant. He attempted 11.9 free throws a game. He made 85.7% of his free throws. He attempted 27.8 shots per game. He attempted 0.8 3-point shots. Pay attention to that number. And he made 0.1 3-pointers per game. That season, Jordan attempted 66 threes and made only 12. 66 threes and made 12 on the season. That's like 2 every quarter or something like that, or 3 every quarter. And his effective field goal shooting percentage was 48.4. Good, we got that number. Kobe, the year he averaged 35, that year he averaged 05-06, he averaged 35.4 points per game on 45% shooting. He attempted 10.2 free throws a game, which is 1 less free throw, almost 2 less free throws than MJ, which shows you Kobe was doing a lot of jump shooting. He shot 85% from the free throw line. He attempted 27.2 shots per game. He attempted 6.5 threes and made 2.3 threes that year. And Kobe basically scored the majority of all of his points on just 2-point shots. That season, Kobe attempted 1,665 2-point shots and made 798. And Kobe's effective field goal shooting percentage that year was 49.1. That same year, Kobe outshot the league average, with 48.2 from the 2-point and twos. That's what he shot on twos. And he outshot the league in free throw shooting percentage at 84% to the league's 77%. That season as well, I want to give you some of Kobe's shooting percentages from different distances on the floor. This is why when you listen to the Nick Wrights and all of these people tell you about basketball, you know that y'all are just, he taking you guys for a nice long walk. That season, from 0 to 3, Kobe shot 61%. From 3 to 10, he shot 49.4%. Hear what the hell I just said. From 3 to 10, he shot 49.4%. From 10 to 16, he shot 45%. From 16 to the three-point line, he shot 42%. And from the three, he shot 37.4, and the league average was 35.8. So he was about a percentage point down. And Kobe was not a three-point shooter. Anyway, you can't be a three-point shooter and average all of those points anyway, because it would mean that that's your sole discipline, shooting threes. It was clear that Kobe Bryant was not the same shooter from three like Kevin Durant or Kawhi Leonard or Stephen Curry. These are elite three-point shooters. Elite three-point shooters. Guys that can shoot in the mid-40s. Kawhi, KD, Curry. That's the level those guys are at. He wasn't that. And some of you may be asking, so why are you bringing all of this up? What's the point of all of this? I'm bringing all of this up to show you just how prolific MJ and Kobe were as scorers. And I'm just showing you what these guys could do in this particular era today, where the game is less physical, to go back to what Adam Silver said. There are more possessions. You guys go figure out what that means. The fact that there are more possessions. Because those guys were scoring all of those points in a slower era, where teams could play physical defense, where they could hand check you and hard foul you without getting any foul calls. They were putting up those type of buckets then. So imagine what they would be able to do today. I believe that if MJ and Kobe were in their prime today, you saw what Devin Booker was doing during that playoff run. That's what MJ will be doing every damn night. Because if you believe that Michael Jordan, if he decided not to focus on the three, so some people say, but he didn't shoot a good three. So let me understand something here. You're telling me that Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, could not develop a three-point shot? How silly do you sound? The person that played the game better than anybody else, basketball better than anybody else, could not master a three-point shot. How silly do you really sound? How does that even make sense to you saying it? So to me, this just shows you how lethal of how it puts into context two things. It shows you just how impressive those guys were as scorers back then, and it shows you how impressive these guys would have been as scorers today. The league average in threes just this season is about 34 three-point attempts. That's what teams are shooting this season. The 98 Bulls, they shot 14.1. The year James Harden scored all of those points, he by himself was averaging 12 three-pointers, three-point attempts. James Harden by himself. That's about what? 4 a quarter. No, 3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah, 3 a quarter. He was averaging. So to me, man, I think it's clear. To me, that's why I think Jordan and MJ are by far the two most lethal weapons that we've ever had. Of course, you have Kareem with the sky hook, but in a myriad of ways, because Kareem needed the ball. Somebody needed to get him the ball. Kobe and Jordan didn't need a damn soul to get them the ball. All they needed you to do was get the hell out of the way, and they were going to do what they do.